Mr. Pedrosa, so good to see you here, and thanks for joining us on Leaders Talk.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
As the 32nd APEC Economic Leaders Meeting is about to begin, you have arrived at Guangzhou ahead of schedule to get everything ready. And also, I watched your video post on the social media, which you filmed in your office before your departure. And I noticed that you posted the other one the other day that you invited everybody to Guangzhou for the APEC. So in different ways, I believe you surely want to get more people to pay attention to APEC meetings.
Yep, that's right. A lot of people don't really understand what APEC is. People see the leaders meeting, a few handshakes, but underneath that, there are 12 months of meetings, almost 300 meetings a year, preparing what will come about during the leaders meeting. We also want to give a flavor of where the meeting will take place. The local community puts in a lot of investment and time for holding these meetings. So we'd like as much as possible to give profile to them so that when in the eyes of the public, people understand why and what the benefits of being here are.
This year's APEC Economic Leaders Meeting is under the theme as we build tomorrow's sustainability, connectivity, innovation, prosperity. These three words basically serve as a roadmap for the future of the Asia-Pacific region. What concrete steps will APEC to take to strengthen connectivity among member economies, particularly in areas where differences remain, so as to make innovation and prosperity more tangible?
I think what we're trying to do here in APEC is to look forward. What is the future that we're looking for in 2040? So we have our Putrajaya vision, which seeks an open, dynamic, resilient, and peaceful Asia-Pacific region. So APEC's work is very forward-looking. How we get there is up to each economy. So we will take different paths towards that goal. Sometimes there are issues that we disagree about, but other areas where we find common agreement. For example, there's no denying it, trade tensions, but other issues where we can find agreement are on issues like services. Another part of the discussion that was really valuable was how do we make the multilateral system, how do we improve it? What do we need to do to make sure that the system is fit for purpose, given all the changes that are taking place within our economies?
In the face of escalating unilateralism and protectionism, what measures will APEC take and what role will it play in upholding multilateralism and an open economy?
Well, the idea of an open economy is really central to APEC's being. So what will we do? What do we need to do? Again, it's about providing a platform for our member economies to come together and understand what issues are really important, what's at the heart of any disagreements that they have. Without that platform, it becomes very difficult to even have a discussion, have a dialogue, and find agreement on those. This year in particular, APEC and Korea has chosen to think through some of the most important issues facing our region. One, for example, is the digital economy. But also, in addition to the digital economy, it addressed artificial intelligence. This is something everybody is talking about. And we all have different ways of going about using AI. There are different systems, different regulatory approaches. What we want to make sure in APEC is that these systems are interoperable and that these can be used for innovation to bringing benefits to our people.
The Asia Pacific is still or remains a source of vitality and a key driver of the global growth. However, it's also shrouded in uncertainty amid today's complex and turbulent international landscape. This brings to mind the APEC CEO Summit last year, where Chinese President Xi Jinping, in a written speech, referred to economic globalization 13 times and openness 11 times. A year on, how do you view this lasting relevance of President Xi's insights?
Well, I think it remains extremely relevant. They are critical to the future of this region. Our openness, our integration, and really the role that the Asia-Pacific region can play in supporting an open world economy. As we've discussed earlier on, the world's changing. The multilateral trading system needs to be updated. So how will we update it is a very big question. So APEC sees itself as an incubator of ideas, how to do things. Because of APEC's diversity, we have big economies, small economies, island-sized economies. We're able to bring that diversity together and through that unity come up with ideas that benefit the whole world.
And President Xi has attended different meetings on multiple occasions. Which moments or remarks of his impressed you the most?
Well, I think last year was particularly important. It came at a time when there's been a lot of uncertainty, some confusion about what will happen. So it's very important for larger economies to come forward and say how they support the global system. And that will help us, come to a future world multilateral system that benefits everyone.
On October 31, the first session of the 32nd APEC Economic Leaders Meeting was held at the Hwabak International Convention Center in Jeongju, Republic of Korea. President Xi Jinping attended the meeting and delivered an important speech. President Xi pointed out that changes unseen in a century are accelerating across the world, and the Asia-Pacific faces growing uncertainties and destabilizing factors in its development. The rougher the seas, the more we must pull together. All parties, he said, should stay true to APEC's founding mission to promote economic growth and improve people's lives, and champion open development where everyone shares opportunities and emerges a winner. He called for promoting a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization and building an Asia-Pacific community. President Xi then put forward 5 proposals in this regard.
What we have said that APEC is the most important economic cooperation mechanism in this region. It represents nearly 40% of the world's population, almost half of global trade, and over 60% of the global economy. What do you think is the soul of the APEC?
Well, the soul of APEC is a member-driven organization, and that's what makes it unique. It's not someone telling someone else what to do, but it's our members coming together, coming up with initiatives, projects that others can join. And that's what makes APEC unique. It's that member-driven concept that these are ideas that everyone can sign up to and think about. So share their own approaches. This is how I'm addressing AI. This is how I'm addressing climate change. What do you think? Would it be beneficial to you given the different contexts in which we all live?
Looking ahead, as APEC advances the building of the free trade area of the Asia-Pacific and deepens cooperation in emerging areas such as you just mentioned, digital economy or artificial intelligence, what are your expectations for APEC to inject new momentum into the economic growth of the Asia-Pacific and the wider world? And how do you envision the future of an Asia-Pacific community with a shared future?
Yeah, well, the free trade area of the Asia-Pacific started off as an idea, as a responding to the proliferation of regional trade agreements. So what we found was that businesses were trying to adapt to these supply chains, but they found it difficult to adjust to the rules of origin. There's so many different rules of origin in complex supply chains. So that was one part of the discussion. Another part of that discussion was that the Doha development round of the WTO had stalled. So the hope was that the concept of an FTAP would help, energize those multilateral discussions. But now FTAP has taken on a life of its own. It's become core to APEC's mission. And what we're trying to do is to use existing pathways like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and also the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. These are pathways, if you like, to an eventual FTAP. Now, what we really need to do with these agreements is to make sure that they are relevant. As we talked, is it all trade in goods? Is it trade in services? Is it digital trade? So we need to make sure that these agreements moving forward are really relevant to where we all live and work today.
And with multiple economic cooperation mechanism flourishing across the Asia Pacific, how will APEC can complement and coordinate with other regional mechanisms such as ASEAN to achieve mutually reinforcing progress?
Well, ASEAN is actually an official observer of APEC. So ASEAN actually participates in APEC's meetings. So that's a very strong connection that we have between ASEAN and APEC. Many ASEAN members are also members of APEC, so that already has a built-in mechanism for coordination. But beyond that, APEC is open. APEC is open to views, input from all different types of organizations. So the World Bank, the IMF, and so these are really useful strengths that APEC has. It's not an exclusive club, but it's somewhere where people can come together and hear views from all around the world and what will be important for the people and the kind of research, ideas that come through these different organizations.
The Asia-Pacific is a major engine of global economic growth, and APEC remains the region's most important economic cooperation mechanism. Since joining in 1991, China has taken concrete actions to advance trade and investment liberalization and facilitation across the region, becoming the main trading partner and export market for most APEC members. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, China's cooperation with the Asia-Pacific has deepened. More than half of APEC members have joined BRI cooperation, with landmark projects taking root across the region, from the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway, which has ushered Indonesia into a new era of connectivity, to the Shanghai port in Peru, opening a new land-sea artery linking China with Latin America. Looking ahead, China is contributing through openness and practical cooperation, writing a new chapter for the Asia-Pacific and injecting strong momentum for building a community with a shared future of mutual benefit and prosperity.
China formally joined APEC in 1991. How would you evaluate China's role and contribution within the APEC framework over the years?
Well, China has always been a very active member of APEC. Ever since it joined, using APEC as a way to understand the global rules of the game. So from that period on, China then took on a much stronger leadership role in thinking about what needs to happen to make the region and the world more prosperous. So, for example, in 2001, there was a lot of discussion on the digital economy. And that's where there was an emphasis on human capital for this new economy that we're facing. And then when China hosted APEC again in 2014, they came up with the Beijing roadmap for the FTAP. But it also took on the blueprint for connectivity. That blueprint for connectivity is really essential to the future of the region. If we think about trade, physical trade, you do need that. You need the ports, you need the airplanes, and so on. But also we need institutional connectivity so that our policies actually fit together. And then you have people-to-people connectivity so that it's easier for us to understand each other, to increase flows of students, to increase flows of businessmen. I think one of APEC's best known deliverables, its best known instrument, is the APEC Business Travel Card. And this makes it easier for businessmen to travel around the world, around the region, and to make those investments in the economies of the region.
Yeah, we can see the counters at the customs of each airport. They have the special channel. And for the China's role here, I got a set of data here. In the first 3 quarters of 2025 this year, China's trade in goods with other APEC member economies grew by 2% year on year, reaching 19.4 trillion yuan. That's roughly like 2.7 trillion US dollar. Amid rising uncertainties in the global economic and trade environment, what does this growth trend tell us?
We're seeing so much trade around the region. The percentage of trade to GDP for many of these economies is exceptionally high. So trade flows are always very important. So what does it mean? It means we're just continuing the growth of integration. We'll find different ways of developing this. We're trading in different things today. A great example is in renewable energies, in EV cars, for example. China's been very good, I think, in producing electric vehicles. So you see more and more of those on the streets of where I live in Singapore. But we also have a choice through trade of which car we like. And that's the beauty of an open market.
Talking about China's green development, actually, in China, there's a term called APEC Blue. I'm not sure whether you have heard of it.
I remember it well.
Yeah,
I do.
When Beijing hosted the APEC Economic Leaders meeting in 2014, the
Yes.
sky was exceptionally clear.
Yes, I remember.
That's giving rise to this phrase. And at that time, people are wondering whether this kind of APEC Blue could last. And I remember President Xi Jinping pledged that it would become a permanent blue. Now we have seen the great contribution of the air pollution control in China.
I'm glad to know there's still an APEC Blue and that it's not just a temporary phenomenon. But it's also something that speaks to the development of our economies, from a heavy industrial economy to lighter industries, to services, but there's more light industry and more value added in the sort of manufacturing that we do.
And China develops its national plans on a 5-year cycle. I believe you knew it. How do you assess this practice?
It's always good to be forward-looking, to have a plan on what you plan to do and to measure what you will achieve. I think there's this well-known saying that, if you can't measure it, it won't get done. So, this is very useful for different economies to think about. So I hope is that in setting these plans, it will make us work towards that common goal.
Exactly. And also, President Xi once explained China's perspective on time to foreign leaders. He said that in our understanding, time cannot be measured in 10 years or 100 years, but in hundreds of years or thousands of years. As an official of a major multilateral organization, how important do you think it is to adapt this long-term perspective to international development, international engagement, or multilateral cooperation?
Well, long-term goals are always good. It provides a guidebook, a map for the kind of objectives that you want to reach. There may be bumps along the road, you may be diverted, but at the end of the day, you're hoping that you get to that 100-year goal. So, for example, APEC has its Putrajaya vision. That looks forward 20 years. That might be short in China's view. But again, still, it's a long-term goal for us that we will be working towards. So there'll be bumps along the road, but we all hope that by working together, we will achieve that goal.
You used to mention that China has achieved leapfrog development in many areas, and you visit China this past June. From your perspective, what does the Chinese path to modernization look like, and what personal experience have shaped your understanding of China's rapid development?
Well, I've been visiting China, I don't know how many times, many times. But as I walk through the streets of, say, Beijing, you see the development of these cities as you visit every 2 months, 3 months, and 6 months. And there are other cities like Tianjin, where again you've seen this very rapid development. I remember a few years ago driving from Beijing to Tianjin, and now you have a high-speed link. So this is very useful. I was on a family holiday, And it was very easy to go from city to city and to navigate through the high-speed trail links, even though I really can't speak Chinese.
So enjoy like everything from China, like food, lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
So in 2026, next year, China will host APEC for the third time. What are your expectations for this upcoming summit? And how do you envision it playing out? Are there any special plans currently under your consideration?
We'll have to wait till the Chinese government comes out with its priorities. We're looking for more openness, a focus on innovation and on cooperation as well. Connectivity has been something that China has focused on over the past 10 years at least, building throughout its rail network, as I mentioned. Are there lessons that can be learned through their own domestic processes as well? And then again, talking about trade, how has China trade changed over the past few years? What is China exporting now compared to the 25 years ago? All of our economies go through changes, so it'll be interesting to hear through the next plan and through the APEC hosting, what we can learn from that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pedrosa. Thanks for your insights.
Well, thank you.